Mid-prayer, the priest pauses, fingers trembling, slipping a palm-sized box into his cassock and sealing it with a thumbprint as the stained glass light shivers over the altar. The congregation freezes, breaths held, yet he keeps moving, never breaking his smile, while candle flames lean away as if repelled. A soft click of a hidden latch fills the nave, and a single pearl of wax rolls down the carved crucifix. Why is something sacred silenced in that small sound? The hush folds back into the familiar cadence as the priest lowers his hands and places them once more on the velvet-covered altar. The choir, already mid-hymn, picks up the next phrase as though nothing paused, voices weaving through the nave with practiced patience, the alto timer nudging rhythm with a quiet smile. Outside, the bell tower hums the hour into the square. Inside, the air still smells of beeswax and pine from the sanctuary lamps. Parishioners settle again, fingers folding over hymnals marked by smudged notes of decades. An elder in the front row, her shawl a map of tiny repairs, dips a fingertip in the font and crosses herself, eyes closing in routine reverence. A boy in the back straightens his coat by habit, while the sexton's daughter sweeps slow arcs of light across tiles, catching the stained glass in waning gold. Everything holds. Each patient breath, each nod toward confession, each whispered Amen, threading through the steady heart of the service. The parish office still smells faintly of incense, mingling with paper dust from the ledger open on the folding table. Claire slides the envelope list across the desk to the worn red register, each donor line already penciled with that day's amount. Her fingers hover over the second collection entry marked Building Fund before she taps a pencil against the page. Across from her, Deacon Morales stands with a mug of lukewarm coffee, watching with a cautious smile. "I can help you with that," he says. But Claire doesn't look up. She flips to the deposit sheet from the night before. Rows of neat numbers show the counters signed at 10 p.m. She lines the list beside the deposit slip, matching every check and cash total. At the bottom of the second column, where the envelope for the repair fund should match the $320 tally, the slip reads $280. The pencil in her hand scrapes louder now. Morales' smile stays fixed. "You track these?" he asks gently, resting a hand on the table as though to steady himself. "Yes." Claire's voice is brittle but steady. "Why is the building fund short $40? The deacon's hand moves away, and he leans in, fingers brushing the paper as if the numbers might rearrange themselves. "Those counters hate to be disturbed for minor things," he murmurs. "Sometimes one forgets to mark a single envelope, and the deposit looks smaller. We've been reminding them to double-check." Claire taps the margin where she wrote the envelope number and date. It looks like that exact envelope was accounted twice in the tally before the deposit. But the jar count never hit that figure. I watched the counters, Sister Etta and Thomas, put it in the bag. Morales' jaw tightens. Faith is a different kind of accounting, Claire. We all trust each other. He manages a weak chuckle, but his fingers still drift toward the register. "If you keep a closer eye, we can all feel better." Claire holds his gaze a beat longer, then nods once and closes the ledger with a soft thud. She pulls a notebook from the drawer, the one with her name penciled in the corner, and scribbles the envelope number, figures, and discrepancy. "I'll stay for the count tonight," she says, "just to see how the totals line up." He exhales, a brittle breeze through a cracked window. "I'll let Sister Etta know," he says, turning away with the list in hand. Claire watches him go, then tips the ledger so the light catches the pencil scratch under the building fund entry. She taps the line 3 times with her knuckles and whispers, "Same as last week," though no one hears. She sets the notebook beside the register and begins recalculating the entire sheet, jaw clenched and shoulders squared. The unease she kept hidden behind a calm smile, now a steady rhythm she cannot ignore. Mara slides the office door open a crack, easing inside while the cleaning crew still haunts the nave. The ledger on the desk smells of candle wax and paper dust. She flips to last Sunday's entry, penciled numbers again, and scratches a fresh line for today's third count. The deposit envelope lists $512 for the building fund, but the register records $484 and change. She holds the pencil at an angle, breath caught, then turns to the accountant log. Someone wrote in a different hand. Added Saturday service, 40. That doesn't explain the new shortfall. The pencil slides across the paper, the same tight rhythm as last week. But now each number feels like a footstep someone else could hear. A murmur drifts through the cracked office door. Mara steps back, heart thudding loud enough to echo against the old wood. She presses her ear to the jamb just as Sister Anya sweeps past with her broom, and a pair of parishioners slip into the foyer. Heads bowed, voices maddeningly low. Mara leans closer and catches a snatch of words. He told me to take the fundraiser's receipts and hand them to him privately. One woman whispers, fingers twisting her purse strap. Said if I kept quiet, he'd make sure the council kept my uncle on the committee. The other responds, and the way he shifts when he talks about the sermon. It's like he's angry if I question anything. I thought it was nerves, but last Friday he asked for my son's carpentry help. Said the church needed it more than our rent. Mara's mouth goes dry. No jealousy, no drama. Just two women describing the same tight grin she had seen in the pulpit. That lean towards someone in the aisle, the flare of fingers when the topic turned to personal favors. These whispers are a rope, and she isn't sure she wants to pull. She opens the door wide enough for air, but not light, and steps into the foyer. You're still here, the first woman says, turning. Her eyes flick to Mara's notebook, then back to her hands. I'm surveying the morning counts, Mara says, keeping her voice level. Did you two discuss anything about the sermon requests? I keep hearing people were called into the pastor's office with, well, favors. The second woman steps toward Mara, body leaning in as if the walls are listening. He told me to borrow my cousin's pickup for a church errand. And when I handed it over, he said next time I might skip an offering and he'd cover me. I'm not reckless with money, but now I'm counting receipts twice. Mara nods sharply, the tension humming in her shoulders, because the story matches the missing money like a puzzle piece sliding into place. One woman raises a trembling hand. I don't want trouble. I just can't be alone with him in the office again. Mara places both palms on the ledger and lets a small, solid calm settle. Then we keep each other honest. I'll be here for the counting next Tuesday and Thursday. I promise I'll watch the envelopes when you're in the foyer. The second woman squeezes Mara's sleeve. Thank you, she whispers, and the sound feels like release. Mara returns to the office, closing the door with a soft click that rings louder than it should. She scribbles today's shortfall under the building fund line and writes, Ask Sister Anya about the Saturday edition. The notation is deliberate. A small victory and a commitment both. She slides the ledger back in place, then crouches beside the desk to set the pencil down in the palm of her hand. Outside, footsteps move through the foyer. The rumors will keep coming, but so will she. The foyer still smells of incense when I slide the ledger over the folding table. Light from the stained glass ribs the pages with purple and gold. I tap the line where today's building fund deposit should read $512. Lila leans in, fingers curling around a styrofoam cup gone cold, and repeats what I wrote in the margin. 484. $40 again, she says, words flat but knuckles on her jaw jumping. I fold the pen between my fingers and scribble the difference beside the column of envelopes we watched leave the offering box. No other calls on this fund, I whisper. But I want the names tied to each envelope. If he's redirecting checks, we need to know whose. Marisol shows up from the hall, coat still buttoned, though the temperature is rising. She dumps a small spiral notebook on the table and flips it open. He made me write all of it down. She taps a sentence. Confession, 8:15. Can you bring me the ledger of the youth group? I need it with the tithes in the blue folder. Her thumb trembles when she turns the page. He asked me to stay after the last confession because he needed assurance I hadn't told anyone I'm behind on rent. Then he told me the parish council wouldn't see me as a reliable volunteer unless I delivered his groceries. Her voice stops, not because she's short of words, but because her throat clutches. I told him no, but I kept seeing his eyes at every committee meeting. He kept saying, "You led with honesty in the confession, so you owe me honesty back. Don't let them doubt your loyalty." I reach for the recorder app without thinking. The screen lights up while Lila drags her thumb in circles on the table. He told me the same thing, she says to Marisol. Last month, after I admitted to feeling useless, he made me sign up for extra cleaning and told me to remind the finance committee that he was guiding my repentance. He keeps saying she's not fully reformed unless she agrees to his assignments. I'm done being the one who apologizes first. Her lips part and a breath rattles out, the only sound between the clinking of plates from the kitchen staff walking past. Then Thomas arrives, shoulders squared from carrying hymnals. He drops a pile beside the table and leans in. He's not even hiding it, he spits. When I was in the confessional on Tuesday, he told me he knows I questioned his dealings because I mentioned the missing envelopes. And now he's keeping my confession. He said he's holding it up like a mirror over me. He made me promise to help him make the youth room look respectable, which meant driving his car all afternoon to chase parishioners for sales pitches. He opens his palms and slams them softly into the wood. He promised he'd keep me off the committee unless I agreed. He said he would tell the bishop I was a gossip if I didn't keep my mouth shut. The recorder's red dot glows while the three of us speak over one another. The payoff is immediate. 3 voices telling nearly the same story. Confessions turned into leverage, honest moments weaponized. A shadow falls across the table as the priest emerges from the side chapel, his cassock brushing the carpet. His smile is careful, but his eyes flick from the recorder to the ledger. "What are you doing with the accounts?" he asks, smooth, trying to sound casual. Marisol doesn't let him cut in. "We are tracking the missing 40, she says. "And we're also noting what happened in confession. People feel trapped." He leans closer, mischief trying to cover up the shift in his face. "You shouldn't be playing detective," he murmurs. "Confession is sacred. Don't turn it into gossip. These women are emotional." He moves his hand to block the recorder, but I slide it toward me, keeping the red dot visible. "We're not gossiping," I say. Voice low so people passing through the corridor can only hear the tension. "We're collecting facts. We've heard that you tie confessions to favors. We have signed statements now." His shoulders stiffen, but the hallway is open enough that anyone could walk in and witness this. So he takes a step back instead of threatening us outright. The payoff clicks deeper as he retreats to the chapel door. "I'll speak with the council about this," Lila says, and the tremor from before turns to resolve. We're not leaving another 40 unaccounted for. We're not letting the priest keep secrets when he uses them to keep us small. Tomas pulls the recorder closer, then copies the timestamp into the ledger. I scribble "pattern confirmed" across the margin, while Marisol slides her notebook into her bag. We know it's not reconciliation. We know it's a charge we now carry to the diocese. But for the first time today, the hallway feels like a place of action instead of waiting. Leah slides the ledger copy across the cramped table at the little credit union booth, palms damp from the heat of the bank's fluorescent hum. She whispers, "Just the last 12 days," to the teller leaning over her shoulder. When he hands her the stapled stack, his eyes flick to the top sheet, and something like worry tightens his mouth. "You sure you want to keep that under wraps?" he murmurs. Leah nods once. She doesn't need him to speak. She turns the pages and sees it. From the same envelopes collected at communion every Sunday, transfers split: $300 to the building fund, $212 to a private account titled Father Matthew's Reserve. On page 3, a separate entry labeled Ceremonial Gifts paid $1,800 to Mirren Jewelers. On page 5, there was a transfer marked Sacred Vestments, but paid to a boutique in Milan for a bespoke watch and calfskin boots. Leah's fingers drum the table while she slides copies into her bag. The teller's eyes meet hers again, and this time he whispers, "You're doing the right thing," then turns away before she can answer. By noon, the group clusters near the sacristy door. Gloria holds her phone inside her coat, recording the space where the priest usually tucks his personal journal. The moment he steps out of the chapel after Mass, he's already speaking in that practiced tone. A young mother stands before him, eyes wide, clutching her purse. "Father, the baptismal class says we should pay the restoration fee?" she asks. Father Matthews smiles. The way cracks open in a seal. "Yes, and most couples cover that by the time they come to confession. If you bring the special offering," he drops his volume, "I can mention you at the Saturday healing Mass. I'll make sure your family's petitions reach the front of the line. You know how those miracles happen. Bring it tonight. Say it's for the chalice. I'll handle the paperwork." Gloria steps a foot closer to the woman, jaw tight, and the priest's eyes snap up, meeting hers. The muscles in his throat stiffen, but his voice stays low. "It's a private thing, Gloria. Blessings are delicate." As he turns toward the vestry, Leah slips behind him and unclasps the small drawer holding his journal. Gloria's hand hovers near the thermostat. Leah pulls out a slim binder with pages of receipts. One is already open to Saturday healing Mass. The notation reads, "Special intention, 5/20. Deposit to pay for altar boy uniforms. Gift to parishioner family contingent on future donations." Another entry, "Sacred Pilgrimage Fund." Funnels into the same personal reserve account on the bank statement. Gloria clicks her phone on record. The priest spins around, eyes ice. "What are you doing?" Leah doesn't answer at first. She waves the binder. "Your special offering for tonight? It comes straight from parishioners' pockets and lands in your private account. Look at the copies at the bank. The watch, the boots, Mirren Jewelers. Paid for by those envelopes you asked for at reconciliation." He steps forward, hand out, but Leah steps back and he stops short, breathing hard. Gloria's phone keeps recording. The red dot flashes. The priest's face goes pale, then flushes. "You have no right," he begins. Gloria raises another binder she pulled from her bag. Testimonies from the women by the foyer. "You threatened committee standings unless personal favors were given," she says. "You told Mary that confessions meant more if she handed money to you. These are offenses. We're not letting you close the ledger tonight." The priest looks around the sacristy, then toward the choir loft, searching for an ally. None appear. Leah holds up the bank slip, pointing to the account number. You can't hide it anymore. Everyone who gives is funding your watch, your boots, your pilgrimage, not the building fund. He backs toward the doorway. You'll regret this, he hisses, but his legs shake. Gloria doesn't flinch. You already regret keeping secrets from the people who trust you, she says quietly. He jerks and flees down the hallway. The three of them stand amid the faint smell of incense, breathing hard. Leah slides the ledger back into the drawer, then closes it deliberately. The manager's voice from outside echoes, "Don't lose that batch, Leah." She glances at Gloria. The phone is still on, the red dot blinking steady. They have new proof. The bank sheet, the receipts, the recorded plea. That will keep them pressing, and the priest knows someone is watching. The weight of what they just captured settles in, not as a question, but as a new, undeniable fact. Carmen slides the binder across the priest's desk, so her knuckles rattle the wood. Photographs of bank statements, the ledger discrepancies, the testimonies are in order. The top page is the ledger entry tying a baptismal fee to a private blessing and a deposit into Father Matthew's reserve. The priest's eyes narrow. He grabs a rosary, beads rattling under his fingers, but doesn't speak. Walk me through it, she says, leaning close enough to smell the lemon polish on the desk. You've been asking parishioners for favors, promising blessings in exchange, and diverting their offerings into your personal accounts. She flips the binder open to the recordings. 3 women named it. You threatened committee influence if they refused. On tape, you told one of them that confession meant obedience. You can hear your voice, Father. Matthew's mouth opens, then closes. He reaches for the ledger she marked, fingers shaking, and her phone buzzes once on the blotter. You can't keep doing this, Carmen says, planting her palm on the book. You have been, and that's why we're here. He shoves back the chair and stands, spine stiff. You have no proof, he hisses. I match deposits, she replies. Build fund, again short. The money moves into Mirren Jewelers and a private line of transfers. They're tied to baptisms, confessions, and blessings that suddenly require special offerings. She presses play, and his voice fills the office, confessing to conditional blessings. The priest staggers as if struck. You tied my church to a watch and boots, he says, a tremor in his voice. It is there. The tension rips through the room like a snapped line. He stares at the phone, then back at Carmen. The vows, he mutters. I swore them twice, once to the community and once to myself. I kept both. Carmen's breath hitched, but she doesn't back down. I'm recording this, she says, raising the phone higher. You are admitting to steering confessions into favors. He flings his hands up, exhaling sharply. Fine, he barks. Yes, I have been playing both sides. I've been living a double life, one for the parish, one for me. You can start by showing us the hidden accounts you mentioned. The room feels heavier. The confession recorded, evidence final. The parishioner's vigilance now has a tangible reward. His admission, his signature on the statement, and a recording that can no longer be erased. The church hall thrums with low murmurs as the congregation fills folding chairs, the air smelling faintly of candle wax and damp hymnals. Parishioner is already at the podium, ledger open to matching columns of donation totals and bank transfers. He lifts the page so everyone can see the red numbers that don't line up, the handwritten note beside it. Father Matthew's reserve, $521 to $484, $28 missing, repeated. Carmen stands nearby, phone in hand, showing the video of the priest admitting he lived a double life and manipulated confessions. Two women from the foyer support her shoulder to shoulder, their notebooks full of dates when personal favors were requested. Finance committee members watch the crowd shift from murmuring to sharp, expectant silence. Today, parishioner says, the envelopes were counted in the usual room, and the deposit again came up short. He slides the statement across the table toward the committee chair, where a copy of the bank history lists Mirren Jewelers, the personal watch, and boots purchased from parish funds. This is not a clerical error. These are sacramental offerings rerouted. Someone in the back, one of the women who testified, steps forward, dropping a thick stack of confessional logs on the table. He made the couple wait until he blessed their child privately, the sacrament tied to a special gift. Later, the ledger shows the same amount left in his personal line. Heads nod. A few gasps break into hissed whispers. Carmen hits play, and the recorded confession fills the hall. I arrange favors in exchange for your secrets. The words land like a fist. A church elder lifts his hand, trying to restore order, but anger crackles through the room. This betrayal is catastrophic, he says, voice jumping. It erodes every promise we've made to one another. He glances at the priest, who has been sitting rigidly by the side pew, hands clenched. The priest tries to speak, but a young volunteer, fingers shaking, says, "No more manipulations. We have statements. We have documents." The elder turns back to the crowd. "We'll bring in an independent auditor tonight. The funds will be frozen until the accounts are reconciled. We can't have him back behind the altar without transparent accountability." That decision draws a tense, halted breath from the congregation. The air feels electric, everyone leaning forward as if to catch the smallest sound. The priest stands, but the elder raises his palm. "Wait in the sacristy. We're not banishing you yet. But you will not minister alone." The priest lowers his head and, for the first time, the congregation witnesses him as a man no longer cloaked in unquestioned authority. Someone in the front row whispers, "We need to file this with the diocese and the civil authorities." The elder nods, reaching for the signed statement from the priest, which matches the testimony exactly. He hands it to parishioner. "This goes to the bishop, the district attorney, and the congregation. We owe that to everyone who's come here in good faith." The crowd loosens, a collective exhale, the tension releasing into something sharp but steadier. Evidence has finally been acknowledged, and the betrayal is no longer a rumor, but a documented breach that will not be quietly swept back under the altar cloth. The light slants through the high windows onto the long pews lined with faces both tired and sharp. Carmen steps forward, the phone in her hand, now quiet proof, and lays the recording beside the ledger, swollen with the missing 40s and the transfers into the reserve no one named out loud until now. The priest stands alone near the pulpit, his confession written, signed, and folded into the same folder with the testimonies of women who refused to bend again. The elder's voice, hoarse with shared hurt, fills the hush. "You cannot stand here alone," as if the walls themselves have learned to refuse him. The bank envelopes, the watch receipt, the watchful pair at the count table, all laid bare in the hands of the committee that once bowed without question. Someone in the back lifts a sealed packet toward the way out. The route already remembered, and the congregation, steadied, follows.